Don't believe everything you think, for starters. Be an observer of everything that you think. And if you ignore it, you're going to store it, right? So if a thought comes up that's like, you can't do this, and you're like, I'll just deal with that later, and you try and overwork that thought's going to mess with you. That thought's going to come up when you least expect it and just really sabotage you. So if there's a thought that says, you can't do this, pause, take a breath, get curious. Hey, thank you for sharing. What do you most need? It's just a need, right? We got to shower those needs with love and acceptance. What do you need? Well, I'm scared. Okay, what are you scared of? I'm scared I'm going to lose control. Okay, what would happen if we lost control? Well, we wouldn't be loved. It all comes back down to love.
Hey, I'm Brooke Jean, therapist, recovering perfectionist, and struggling working mom on a mission to normalize normal. If you're an overwhelmed, high-achieving, and secretly anxious mama, struggling to balance it all and on the brink of burnout, you are in the right place. Here is where we talk about hard things like balancing work and family life, mental health, and how to navigate life-altering transitions. Nothing is too taboo here. In my conversations, I'll teach you how to let go of who you think you're supposed to be in order to create the life you've always wanted. Get ready to embrace your messy, shed the shoulds, and find freedom through a life unperfected. This is the Unperfected Pod.
Welcome back, Mama. This week's episode is such a treat. I cannot wait to introduce you to my friend, my coach, and my mentor, Samantha Skelly. She's on the podcast today. Samantha Skelly is a powerhouse entrepreneur, international bestselling author, sought-after international speaker, host of the Can't Be Contained podcast, and founder of the world's leading breathwork brand, Pause Breathwork. For over a decade, Samantha has made a significant impact on the world of spiritual and personal transformation. Her trauma-informed approach to healing and awakening through the power of breathwork has changed the lives of over 500,000 people and counting. Her mission advances through training and certifying people to become breathwork facilitators and through her innovation mobile app, Pause Breathwork. Samantha has shared the stage with inspirational leaders such as Tony Robbins, Kobe Bryant, Marie Forleo, and Marianne Williamson. Her work has been featured in Forbes, Entrepreneur Magazine, Women's Health, Global TV, The Doctors, and CBS. You guys, Sam Skelly is such an extraordinary, energetic being. She has 100% made my life so much better in this year that I've been in her life mastermind. We talk about her journey of becoming the world's largest breathwork facilitator program and how she listened to the nudges of her soul that told her what her mission was, how women being in disconnection to their body prevents them from hearing these soul callings, how she can feel the most alive because aliveness was her word for 2024 and alive was my word as well. We talk about things like energetics and business and societal programming and just all of the things. So you do not want to miss this. And definitely, if you're interested in joining the Life Mastermind, I'm in for year number 2 with her. We start in January. There are links in the show notes where you can come and join this experience with me for next year. Grab your notebook, close your eyes, feel this transmission all the way through to your core because it will shift you. Enjoy. Welcome back to the Unperfected Pod, where we normalize normal and find freedom in a life unperfected. You guys, today has been so much fun because I've got to spend what feels like half of my day with one of my favorite freaking human beings on the planet, Samantha Skelly. Thank you for coming on the Unperfected Pod.
Brooke, I'm so happy to be here and I'm so stoked for this conversation. Let's go.
Ow! And I can't even pretend that you didn't just help me drop into so much alignment in my business and my soul mission right before this call. Like that is, I just want to name like this gift that you have where I feel like I can throw my authentic self at you and my ideas and my visions and my dreams and my energy. And there's something, you have this gift of just like seeing it for us.
Mm.
And then you mirror it to us.
It's so interesting. I feel like that gift came, I realized something was up when I was a dancer. And we would create these like concepts for our choreography, right? So like our teacher would be like, hey, I'm thinking about a number that's like a little bit like this and a little bit like this and it has a little vibe of this. And I don't know why, but like my brain and my awareness would just craft the entire freaking thing as if I was like closing my eyes and watching a screen. Like oftentimes when I coach you guys, my eyes are closed because I'm seeing it. And I would see the entire thing on like the screen of my mind. And I'd be like, hey, Heather, this is what I'm seeing. I'm seeing this and this, and then we do this, and this is what we're wearing, and this is the vibe, and then we do this, and this is the vibe. And she's like, that's exactly what so it's almost like my energy field is feeling yours and like creating some visuals and I'm just telling it back to you. It's so weird, but it's just what it is.
Dude, it's a superpower though. It's a superpower. And before we get into your story and just all the cool things, I want to share with the listeners how I manifested you. Because I literally I have not become a breathwork facilitator. I hadn't been following you online for years. It was like January 1, I was writing down my manifestations in my journal. And it was like, my word for the year is alive. And I want soul sisterhood. And I want a retreat by the beach. And I want this. And so I listed it all out.
So good.
And then as one would do, I just opened up Instagram right after that. And all of a sudden, I saw something about the Life Mastermind. I'd never seen it. And like, because you don't heavily promote this. This is like a bomb ass exclusive group. And I clicked on the link, which is also kind of not like me. And your marketing, I shit you not, Sam, was every bullet point that I had just written down in my journal was there.
I got full body goosebumps. Dude, that's the way the universe works. Our soul speaks and we're like, this is what I desire to create. And we literally create that. That's how this whole thing works. And our only job here is to remove the resistance from that voice inside so we can just be these radiant beings that are constantly attracting the things that we desire. It gets to be that easy,
Dude. And then, so everybody knows that my word for the year was alive because I talk about it. And then your keynote this year was on aliveness. And I was like,
so well, like I've literally had the same keynote for 10 years, doing the same thing for 10 years and did it everywhere. And then this year, my speaking coach and I, who Patrick Combs,
love him.
I was like, yeah, he's so great. Shout out. I was like, something new is coming. There's something brewing. And we just workshopped it and it was aliveness, which was exactly your word for the year.
I just feel so lucky. Okay. So going back to what you were saying, like it gets to be that easy when we're not in resistance. Will you tell us a little bit about your story? So we know that you're a dancer. Tell us how you fell into your magic because you've done it in a way. Like you're the kind of gal that practices what you preach. Like you stayed out of the way. You've removed resistance. And it's like you just kept saying yes to the calls. And now you have this extraordinary brand and business. So how the hell did it all happen?
How did we get here?
Starting when you were in utero.
So this one night, my mom and dad, I was actually a mistake. My brother and I are 12 months and 12 days apart. My mom says, you're the best mistake I've ever made.
Oh, yeah. That was a quick turnaround.
It was 3 months and she got knocked up. I'm like, bitch, what were you doing having sex at 3 months? Like,
were you not tired?
Wasn't your vajayjay already not even healed?
Nobody I know wants to have sex after they have children, period, let alone 3 months after.
Period. No sex ever.
Yeah. Women are like, I literally hear women every day, Sam, which is not me. My story is different. I'm a Scorpio, but women are like, I'm a
horny Scorpio.
I'm a horny bitch, but women are like, Brooke, I could literally live without it for the rest of my life. I'm like,
really?
Oh, okay. We might not be doing it right then, honey.
Yeah, maybe we're not,
But we're also tired. Like who has the energy for that at the end of the day? So I'm like, well, let's try to find you some energy. But anyway.
I was going to say, this is all going to come full circle because it's truly about like awakening our energy body. So I grew up as a dancer. I grew up as a child actress. I was like the chick in the Tide commercials with the grassy knees. I worked on a show called Smallville for years as a stunt double for Kirsten Crook. So my whole life was in entertainment, being in front of a camera, being on stage. blah, blah, blah.
And in
And
Canada, right? You're
in
from
Canada.
Canada.
Yeah,
Cool.
in Canada. And so I developed a really unhealthy relationship with food and a really unhealthy relationship with my body. And I had what I know now is just constant low grade anxiety, like constantly anxious. And then my anxiety would spike and then I would feel numb again. And then it was just this oscillation between numbness and anxiety. And that's just where I hung out. I didn't experience these high states of joy and bliss. And maybe when I was on stage dancing, but primarily when I was like 18 to about 18, it started. It was just chronic anxiety. So I was reading the book Eat, Pray, Love by Elizabeth Gilbert. And she talks about going to Bali. She talks about finding this medicine man and having this life-changing experience. So I was like, I'm going to do that. So I booked a one-way ticket to Bali. I found the exact medicine man that she talked about in the book, Eat, Pray, Love. And I had a session with him.
No, you
And
didn't.
I did.
The audacity. The
The
audacity.
audacity.
I'm going
Like,
to find the dude in the book.
go for it. I'm like, I don't want just anyone. I want the dude.
Yeah.
So I found the guy. I swear that guy made Bali so popular after that book.
Oh, it's done. That guy's a millionaire. I hope he is.
Oh, well, he died 2 years ago, but he was a millionaire when he died, I bet. So he gave me this session and he just looks at me after the session's done and he's like, your brain's broken. Like you think way too much. You need to go meditate. And at the time I was like, ugh, I hate meditation. You know, you and I are very similar. We're 7 on the Enneagrams. We have a million thoughts a minute. We're high achievers. We're go, go, go. So sitting down and actually thinking about not thinking and feeling is excruciating. I'm like, no thanks.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, I came all the way to Bali for this guy to tell me what to do. And if I don't listen to him, I'm a dumbass. So I did it. I went to this meditation school. There was actually no meditation class at the time, but there was a breathwork class. And I looked at the time. I'm like, 3 hours, breathing for 3 hours. Are you kidding me? But there was that voice inside of me that was like, let's go do this.
Saw it as a challenge.
Yeah. Sounds like a challenge. Let's go. So I did. I walked into this class. There was this guy there. He looked like Jesus. He was dressed all in white with his like beard.
Of course he did.
Of course. And he looks at me and he goes, are you ready to go on the ride of your life? And I was like, what? He said, you are going to experience the entire range of human emotion. You're going to experience the highest states of joy and bliss and ecstasy. And you're going to shed and release and let go of everything you're holding on to that doesn't serve you. And I was like, bro, I can feel anxious and I can feel numb. There's really not much else. And I'm like, but I'll give it a shot. So I began breathing in the way that he was teaching, which was, you've done your fair share of breathwork being in my world now, so you get it.
I love it.
And after about 3 or 4 minutes, I just finally, the crazy nonstop thoughts were just off. It was as if someone took like a light switch and was just like, we're done. And my mind was clear for the first time in I don't even know how long. And I felt my heart just like expand open and open up. And I felt just this wave of power and energy flood my body. And I'm like, what is going on here? This is wild. Why do they not teach you can do this in school? And after 3 hours, which felt like 15 minutes because time kind of like collapses when you're in that period, I just came to this, I came out of it and I'm like, whoa, I am so powerful. We are so powerful. Like we have the ability to heal ourselves through our breath. What? I healed my eating disorder within 3 months. I then started just using breathwork every single day for healing and awakening and remembering who I am. And it's just been the greatest gift. I was a student of breathwork for 8 years. I reached out to every top breathworker in the world. This was 15 years ago. And I'm like, I sent cold emails. I'm like, you don't know me, but I need to learn everything that you know about breathwork, like Stan Groff and all of those guys back in the day. And so I did. I got to mentor with some of the top breathwork people in the world. And then I was simply just a student. I did not think about starting a business in breathwork. And 8 years later, I got, my soul knocked and was like, you need to teach the world to breathe. And that's Pause Breathwork today. So we've been doing this for almost 8 years now.
Oh, now I have the full body goosebumps. Okay, so how did you go from that spiritual, intuitive soul nudge, soul calling, into bringing it into life the way that you have too, Sam? Like, if you guys are not following Pause Breathwork and Samantha Skelly online, you're going to need to do that immediately. But like, you have something really extraordinary going on that
Mm,
is even bigger than breath. Like breath work is big,
mm,
but it's even
mhm,
bigger. How did you
mhm,
turn the soul calling,
mhm,
especially as someone with a busy mind, like
mhm,
all the listeners are relating to
mhm,
that,
mhm.
into what it's become?
Yeah, great question. It was 2017 and I was driving from LA back to San Diego. I was in LA for a mastermind. And I
Mhm.
was at that mastermind because I was so burnt out with my old business, which was called Hungry for Happiness. It was a beautiful business. And I got to serve so many women in eating disorders and body dysmorphia and binge eating, emotional eating, the whole thing. Like it was a good run. We had a lot of fun doing it. But I was just done. I'm like, I can't talk about emotional eating anymore. I'm going to start emotional eating if I keep doing it. My soul was just like, this ain't it anymore. But I had this the company was doing $2.7 million at a 43% profit margin. It was rocking, it was rolling, but I was dead inside. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to do this. I don't want to talk about bodies and food. Fuck all this. Like I was so done. So I was at this mastermind and I'm like, what am I going to do? Like, I don't know what to do. Like, what do I shut it down? Do I keep going and sort of just like pretending that I love it still because it looks good from the outside? Like, I was just like in this space of contemplation. It's a very disorienting and shitty place to be in when it on paper it's so successful, but your soul's dying. It's a very interesting place to be. So I was driving home that day and I just like asked myself, if I could do anything, what would it be? Like if I was to start fresh. And I just like waited. I was expecting the answer to come right away. It didn't. I'm like, hello. And then I just like kept like listening. I'm like, God, universe, what is the thing? And it came in so clear. It was, you need to teach the world to breathe. And it's one of these things where it was like right in front of my eyes because I took every breathwork certification on the market at the time. I trained with the top breathworkers in the world. I had no intention of starting a business. I just did it because I wanted to.
Mhm.
And then the next thing after that, it said it's called Pause Breathwork. So it was this insanely divine, crazy experience of me just being open to what the heck and listening. And as soon as it said it's called Pause Breathwork, I could see on the Highway 5 going from LA back to San Diego in the distance, there was fireworks. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Fireworks. I'm like, oh, someone must be having a party. I drive another 5 minutes, more fireworks. I
No.
drive more fireworks.
On like
And
a
I
random day. This is
on
not
a
4th of
random
July.
day, I'm Canadian, so I don't know all the American holidays at the time, and I had just moved down here. So I called my boyfriend at the time. I'm like, Kip, I'm like, is there an American holiday today? He's like, no. I'm like, can you Google it and like double check? Because there's fucking fireworks everywhere. And he's like, I don't think so. And sure enough, no. But it was like confirmation of like, this is it, this is it, this is it.
Wow.
So I went home that night and for weeks on end at 3:14 a.m. I was woken up by this inspiration that is Pause Breathwork, and I just channeled this entire thing. I just
Yeah.
channeled this entire like I channeled the curriculum for the facilitator training. I channeled the marketing strategy. I channeled the product suite. I channeled even down to like the color orange and like
Wow.
the logo. Like everything just was like, and
Just
I'm like,
came through you. Like
just
for
came
someone who
through.
doesn't know what channeling is, what was that like for you, babe?
Oh God, it was like when we just open up and listen, there's so much information. So it's like whether you want to call it channeling or insight or intuition, it's like, we were talking about in the mastermind there, I was saying how there's like the repeated thought or the received thought.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I'm like, these are thoughts I've never had before. These are
Mm.
brand new and they feel exciting. They feel inspiring. I feel inspired by these thoughts. And so I'm like, these are not from my human mind. This is like otherworldly, right? Whether you want to call it God, universe, source, whatever it is. And so I had these like massive, those gigantic sticky notes with
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So I had those all over my living room. And I woke up like a mad freaking scientist for weeks on end at 3 a.m. and I just started writing out all this stuff. And the business plans that I wrote at 3 a.m. 7 years ago is what is in the world today. It's the facilitator training, it's the level 2 retreats, it's the, life mastermind wasn't a part of that at the beginning because it was very just the breathwork piece, but it was the app, it was this, it was that, and the whole product suite, it was all there. So it just makes me realize like, when we follow what we're here to do and we listen and we just follow what feels so good and aligned and we let go of everything else, and we're not distracted by shiny balls, and we just keep the main thing that's so connected to our soul, it's going to work out. Like, I'm so excited for your year next year of 2025. Like, you're going to freaking crush it. I just know it. It's simple. It's beautiful. It's soul aligned. It's powerful, right? It's like blowing up this pod, whatever. It's like, just let it be so real and so coming from the soul. And the other nuance to the way that I ran Hungry for Happiness. Yes, it was successful. Yes, it was profitable. Yes, we did amazing things, but I ran it like a dude. I ran it without my soul. I ran it with a fucked up nervous system. I ran it with fear. I ran it with doubt.
You were a hustler.
I was a hustler,
I mean,
baby
you
girl.
still are, but differently from the soul. It's
I'm like
different.
an aligned, like, I have a ton of discipline.
And
right?
you're
So
passionate.
yeah. And so, like, I get up and I do the thing every single day, even when I don't feel like it. Right. But I'm always centralizing the health of my nervous system and my mental health. That's so important to me. I am very okay with taking the whole day off and canceling everything if my mental health is not great. I am very okay with completely resting and not pushing, but I will always, always, always honor myself over my mission, because that's the way the mission grows. If we're self-sacrificing at the sake of the mission, which I used to do with Hungry for Happiness, like, when I look back, I'm like, dude, I was paying my employees more than I was paying myself, which created resentment. I was making everyone else happy, but I wasn't happy. I was hustling like a mofo. And yes, it was successful on paper, but we were talking about in the Life Mastermind today, redefining success. What is success to me now? It's not money first. It is soul freaking fulfillment. It's spaciousness. It's working with dream clients. It's having the freedom and the capacity and the ability to travel and create art that I don't have to monetize all the time. That's success.
Yes. Well, and your story, I feel like, highlights a big obstacle that I see so many women face, which is we're disconnected from our bodies because at a young age, we realize we think our worth is, our value is tied to a perfect figure, to controlling the situation. And so many women are not hearing the signs from their soul because they're disconnected from their body because they're trying to keep it perfect. So it was like, as I listened to your story, I'm like, oh my God, like, she healed her relationship with her body, stopped subscribing to this control and idea of perfection, and in drops what the path is. And then you had to have the courage and the audacity to say yes to the call. And even if it doesn't make sense, just go and go and go and go and go. And now you have this thing that is healing people around the world. But I feel like one of the biggest obstacles in women connecting to their purpose and their power is that we've turned off our communication channel with our bodies. So we don't hear it. And then when we do hear the call, fear is like, oh, that doesn't make sense. We can't do that.
100%.
That's not a good girl thing to do. That's not the responsible. So will you talk to me about being unconventional and bucking the system and doing it Sam's way? Because there wasn't even a rubric mapped out for you. You created it. But one of the things that I value the most about you to this day, Sam, is how authentic you are. You do it your way. And to me, that's unconventional. So can you share more about that in hopes that women can see themselves somewhere in all of that?
I love this question. Yeah. So let's take it back to what you shared a little bit earlier when you were asking this question around perfectionism, which is like your whole mission, right? Perfectionism is tied so closely to being performative. And when I was growing up, I was definitely a perfectionist. Right. So I got love for things being perfect, looking perfect, all the things. But then I also got love for being a performer. Right. So I get love when I am totally. And those two things live in the same neighborhood. I get love when I perform. I get love when I'm perfect. And so I created all of these, neural links in my brain to go like, I have to perform to get love. I have to be perfect to get love. Well, that's the death of happiness right there. And so I had to fundamentally restructure my relationship to receptivity and love, and go, I am loved because I am, which is an elusive concept. And I think for women who struggle with perfectionism and being performative, that's a hard thing, right? And especially because there's so many societal beliefs about women and how we need to be. And we, you know, a good wife does this, a good girl does this. It's like, we have to go against the grain on all of that in order to resuscitate our happiness and fulfillment, you know? And so for me, during that healing process, I had to realize that my source of love is not because I'm doing something. There's nothing I have to do. I don't have to earn it. And so I had to retire the earning. And that was a very disorienting place to be. I was like, wait, I can receive love just because I am love? I don't get it. I like it. It really somatically was so interesting. But the beautiful thing is when we do that, then we don't operate from a place of proving anymore. We don't operate from a place of, you know, I call it there's princess energy and there's queen energy. Princess energy is operating from lack, operating from fear, proving, look at me, look how great I am, look what I can do, right? And I look perfect. And it's this fear-based way of being. Queen energy is like, I fucking know I'm the shit.
Mm-hmm.
I know that I'm amazing. I know that I'm a creator. I know that I'm abundance. I know that when things come to me, I make them 100 times better and I ship them out into the world again. I know this. I don't need to prove anything. And that energy creates magnetism because everybody wants that. Mm-hmm. And so if we can really learn and embody that, and we can really let our self and source be the fuel source of our own love, and we're not doing things for love, we really set ourselves free. And talking about, you know, not having energy at the end of the day to have sex. Yeah, no shit. Because what are we doing all day long most of the time? Proving, hustling for our worth. We're not good enough. Do more. Get on Instagram more. Go. Of course we're fucking tired, right? But when we retire that and we realize, like, I am a queen and I am this abundant energy, and my soul is so valuable and my life force is so valuable, and I can create magnetism and I am a creator. Like when we really rest in that, we create worlds, you know? It's like people listen to your podcast, Brooke, and they're like, whatever she's smoking, I want, right? And then they come one step closer into your world, and then they end up, you know, in your mastermind at your retreats as your one-to-one client. There's an energy, and you are the magic. You are the marketing strategy. That's it. And so when it comes to pause, I've really had to be so mindful of the information that I take in when it comes to marketing and how to do it and how to do it right. And it has to be this way. No, it doesn't. I have to get with I have to have a rock solid relationship with myself. And I have to believe in my mission so much. And I have to have a clear vision of the future of where we're going. And I have to love people and care for people and have their best interests at heart more than anyone else. That's how I'm going to win. It's not about having the right strategy or the right paid ads, whatever it is, you know?
Yeah, that's like one of the things that you've really taught me this year is energy over strategy. And just so, I mean, when I explain being in the Life Mastermind, I talk about it's like serious energetic training. And like I always believed in energy. I always felt energy. I always knew energy was a thing, but like the way that you model it and the way that you've taught it is just a whole nother world. So can you speak to energy over strategy? And first of all, how did you even learn that? How did you figure that out?
How did I learn that? Okay, now we're going back. Now
we're really in utero.
We are in the womb, everyone. Come on in. It's warm. So my stepdad, Ken, he was a big Tony Robbins fan growing up. And so we lived in Vancouver, Canada. My mom grew up in Winnipeg, which is actually where Steph's from. Dr. Steph, another woman in our mastermind. Epic.
I love her so much. I'm having her on the pod soon.
Oh my God, I love her. She's so rad. So that's it took us basically 2 weeks to drive from Vancouver to Winnipeg. And we did it every single summer. And I don't know if you've seen the Griswolds, like we're just like the family, we're just like everything goes wrong. That was our family on these trips. Like we'd get in car accidents, we'd hit deers. It was just like a mess. Yeah. But my dad would play Tony Robbins tapes back in the day. We had a Ford Aerostar van, 1994, and he would play these tapes of Tony Robbins. And I would just be, you know, he would be driving through the prairies of Saskatchewan, which is just flat they say you can watch your dog run away for days on end because that's just how flat it is up there. And it'd be like 2:00 in the morning because he'd be driving through the night and I'd be awake and Tony Robbins would just be playing. And through those drives, I just picked up on these messages of, your state. Tony would call it your state, right? Like your state determines your life. Your state determines your success. Your state. I'm like, oh, well, your state is like your energy, the energy that you have. And so I began getting like really into Tony Robbins. I went to so many of the events. And then once I was getting a little bit older, like 14, 15, I started going to the events, watching him online, like still listening to those tapes. And I just got so obsessed with personal development. And I got so obsessed with mindset, right? So the interesting thing is like when I was going through like my eating disorder and all that kind of stuff, I realized like, oh, there's a missing piece to all of this, right? And like mindset is one, but we actually have to get into the body, which I didn't learn from Tony, which breathwork taught me. And that's the second piece of it. But I began to like really learn those messages through listening to Tony Robbins tapes at 2:00 in the morning, driving across Canada.
Anthony. Good old Anthony.
Good old Anthony Robbins. Good old Anthony Robbins. That's so funny.
Well, that's actually the cutest thing I've ever heard, that you were 14 and 15 and rocking those events. Like you were clearly like meant to like be in that world, because most of us at 14 and 15 were not jamming to Tony Robbins. We were jamming to like New Kids on the Block and shit,
New
like
Kids on the Block.
Yeah, we still do. All right.
Yeah.
So now we're touching on a really important piece of the work, which I feel like the world is waking up to, which is it's beyond the mind, our traumas, our gifts, our intuition, our connection. It's in the body. And even though the brain and body are connected, that is like, we can't ignore that source of power anymore, especially as women. Like our intuitive abilities, like I talk about it all the time. Like I can hear my child say mama literally like across the neighborhood.
Dude, it's so crazy.
And I don't hear very well. Like, or I can just sense what's going on in a room with people. And this is all in the body. So take us on a journey of like waking up to what's happening in the body and how you wove that into your mission.
Well, breathwork is a very body-based practice. So that first time that I was in Bali and I did breathwork and I realized like, what on earth? Wait a second. There's this entire resource of energy that I carry around with me all day long and I don't use it. What on earth? So that was like that moment was really my like awakening into the power that we all have to add so much energy's life, right? So it adds so much energy into our life. And then I realized that transformation is 20% mindset work, 80% body-based work. If we change our mind without changing the beliefs that are in our body, we're just going to be on the emotional personal development roller coaster all day long. Right? Where we're like, yes, oh my God, I'm going to change it. But if our body is stuck in an old timeline and our body is holding these archaic beliefs, no amount of changing your mind is going to do any work. And so I realized that our body holds the key to our healing. And when we allow ourselves to heal our trauma, we have deeper connection to our intuition. Oftentimes we confuse our trauma with reality. We have trauma in our bodies. We have these beliefs, these parts, these identities, and we think it's reality. And we view life through the lens of our trauma, and it really gets us into a sticky spot. We have to honor our trauma, honor it, love it, process it, feel it all the way through, release it, metabolize it. We have the ability of like literally metabolizing trauma in our body through breathwork and through somatic practices. It's amazing. And all the science is coming out about it now, which is even better, right? It's not just like woo-woo chicks who live in, Southern California. It's like, this has become a mainstream, So it allows us to shift reality. Right? If we have trauma in our bodies from an old wound from our childhood, and that wound tells us that we're not good enough, we are going to view life through the lens of I am not good enough. Right? If we want to change our reality, we have to get down to the beliefs that live in our body. So there's this beautiful framework called BITFAR: beliefs, thoughts, feelings, actions, results. Right? Oftentimes, if people want to change their life, they're just focused on the actions and the results. What do I need to do in order to get a different result? So you got to go to the scene of the crime. You got to go to the beliefs that live in the body, the somatic beliefs that live in the body. Because when we shift the beliefs, if I go from I am not worthy to I am worthy, then that belief is going to give me a different thought. That thought is going to be, well, I'm worthy to send that proposal or ask that person for a sale or go on Instagram, create that content or go on a podcast. And then that's going to give us a feeling of empowerment, inspiration, excitement, love, connection. And the feeling is we're going to have a massively different action and result if we're feeling inspired, alive, and amazing than lethargic and sad and depressed, right? So it's really about like excavating these beliefs that live in our body and restructuring them at a cellular level so that we can change the result. So often, I mean, this is a big one with money, right? Money is like the most obvious one for this. Like money beliefs can be so familiar, like in the family system. And so for us to really shed them, we got to do the work, right? If you're not loving your financial situ, go back to the belief. What's your true belief about money and abundance and deserving and receiving and worthiness? Like, let's go there, especially for women.
Yeah, those beliefs are so like insidious and buried and like we don't realize that we're operating on these systems of lack and scarcity and not enoughness and I'm not worthy. What are some ways that you excavate and unearth these blocks and these beliefs even today in your practices, right? Because they sneak up. It's like you're going for that next level. You're bumping up against an upper limit. Oh, here comes the beliefs. But people don't know, like, they're like, how do I actually find what my blocks are and my beliefs are that are holding me back? Because they're not always obvious. Sometimes they're really like
they're
sneaky little bitches.
Sneaky little bitches. Don't believe everything you think, for starters.
Yeah.
Be an observer of everything that you think. And if you ignore it, you're going to store it, right? So if a thought comes up that's like, you can't do this, and you're like, I'll just deal with that later, and you try and overwork that thought's going to mess with you. That thought's going to come up when you least expect it and just really sabotage you. So if there's a thought that says, you can't do this, pause, take a breath, get curious. Hey, thank you for sharing. What do you most need? It's just a need, right? We got to shower those needs with love and acceptance. What do you need? Well, I'm scared. Okay, what are you scared of? I'm scared I'm going to lose control. Okay, what would happen if we lost control? Well, we wouldn't be loved. It all comes back down to love. You know, if we trace back
connection, it all comes back to like fear of rejection and fear of abandonment because we're hardwired for connection and we so deeply want to be loved and accepted.
Yeah. Loss of connection means loss of love. If I lose love, I'm going to die. It's very survival. It's very primal. And so if we look at it in the lens of survival primal strategies and just realize that all of our resistance traces back to a fear of not being loved and not being connected, we can have a lot of compassion for these parts. You know, I was sharing in our mastermind today that those thoughts come up every single day for me.
I was surprised to hear that, Sam.
Yeah.
I was actually like, I know you're human, but because your energy is always high and squeaky clean, like it's authentic. I was surprised when you shared, like, no, I have those days where I don't want to fucking do it. Yeah, let's tell the people.
Let's tell the people.
Let's tell the people.
I think my energy is so high the majority of the time because I've been in a practice of metabolizing the energy that comes up in those moments of fear. So I don't store it. I don't keep it in my body. And when we don't keep that stuck energy in our body, the byproduct of that is high energy. And so the majority of the time, yes, I am vibing high, but those things come up, but it's 3 minutes and they're done. It's not 3 days. You know, so something will arise. Like, what was I saying today? Like the, I don't want to, right? I have a very strong, I don't want to. I don't want to, you know, if like my team is like, hey, we need you to like approve all these things and write this email copy and like record this video. I'm like, I don't want to.
Yeah. I definitely don't want to.
I definitely don't want to. But I realize like I can even tell by the texture of the voice. I'm like, that's not your truth. That's this inner child. So I honor the child and I'm like, okay, let's go get it out. Like, oh, I don't want to. I hate this responsibility. I don't want to. And I like let myself metabolize literally that energy. I process it through. I move it through. And literally, Brooke, 4 minutes later, I'm back to my high energy aligned self. And I've integrated that part. because it was just this little thing that was poking its head out, and it just needed to be acknowledged and honored and like processed and like expressed. I just needed to express it, you know?
Mhm.
And so what that does is it brings me back to this place of alignment and this feeling of almost like emptiness somatically, right? Energetically. Because if we store all these things, we're going to become emotionally constipated. And then we are going to be so overwhelmed and not want to have sex at the end of the day, or not want to do that thing. But if we move it through as soon as it arises, like I feel it, let me move it through. It's so quick when there's no resistance. It only takes forever when there's resistance. Like, I don't want to feel this. I don't want to do, you know, let yourself fully like go into it. Let yourself fully feel it. Let yourself fully process it through. And then you're going to be back to your badass, empowered, amazing, aligned self 5 minutes later.
Yeah, you have to stay out of the mental, stay out
Yeah.
of the story. This is how I realized the somatic work was so powerful. It's like we have this natural reaction to life, like fear and rejection and loneliness. And then we tell ourselves all these fucking stories that we'll spin out on for
Yeah.
7 months,
Yeah.
literally.
Yep.
It's like, no, stay out of the story, drop into the body, scream it out, dance it out, twerk it out, breathe it out, cry it out.
Exactly.
And then that's how you actually alchemize and
Yeah.
process emotion. But
Exactly.
I feel like women are still resistant to that. Why do you think that is?
I think it's like the good girl complex, or the I don't want to be a burden complex,
Mm.
or the I don't want to be a burden's a big one. Even burdening ourselves. We're resistant to burdening ourselves in a weird way too. I got to keep it all together.
Mm.
I got to keep all the plates spinning. If I let myself feel there's no turning back, I'm never going to come back. I hear that a lot. Sam, I can't feel that. If I feel that, like that's a dark black hole. I'm never going to come back. I've worked with tens of thousands of people. That's never happened, right? You'll feel it. It'll suck for a bit. It'll feel crunchy. You'll cry. You'll feel a little bit of liberation. And then you'll have the confidence to do it again and again and again and again. But there really is this strong holding pattern in women of I have to keep it all together. And if I don't, then someone's going to die.
Okay, so what you were saying though, I do think that as women, we feel like our feelings are inconvenient because we learned that as a child.
Yes.
And like, I can even relate, like, if Chloe's about to have like a big, it's like, oh, bro, can we not? Like,
Yes.
in the middle of here.
Yeah.
And so like, we learn at a young age, like our big feelings are terribly inconvenient and they make people uncomfortable. And so now when I'm like, dude, just primal scream into your arm, people are like, that's wrong. And I'm like, you know what's wrong? Stuffing that shit for a decade and then having an eating disorder or a drinking problem or raging at your husband or shopping addiction or those are also terribly inconvenient
And expensive.
and fucking literally
Like scream it out, get it out. Like the cost of suppressed emotion and being emotionally constipated is so high.
it's so high.
It's so costly, you know? Like I was having a conversation with my brother last night, and we were talking about like one of our mutual friends of how like their resistance to the work. And I'm like, dude, I don't know. I've tried to inspire this person because I see the destruction and how costly it is for this person to not look at themselves, you know? And I'm like, there's only so much we could do, you know? They got to feel the pain of what it's costing them, you know? Because there's such a cost to us staying asleep and not being awake to the reality and not being awake to our own potential, not realizing. But I also, Brooke, at the end of the day, like, I don't believe every soul came here to awaken. And I had to really learn that in like my family system, you know, because when I found the work, I'm like, everyone has to do this. But I realized, no, not everyone, but you can be a light and a guide for those who are here to do that.
Yeah, I feel like I've been in resistance to that for a long time, but I'm starting to realize that we need those folks that are not here to awaken, to bring us back into the 3D reality, because I think sometimes I can get so excited about energy in 5D that I can forget that we're like here now in this
Having
body.
a human experience.
Yeah. And I feel like people like my husband are really beautiful reminders of like, from the stability of the here and now, we get to fly and soar and do crazy shit that's big in the world. But it used to annoy me because I agree. I'm like, aren't we all here to become the best and highest version of ourselves? And turns out like That's not the shit that excites my husband at all.
Yeah.
Love him, but
Yeah.
he's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
this is as good as it's going to get. And I'm genuinely good with it. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, that's extraordinary. Like, we all need people that are actually
There's a
good.
beauty to that too,
There
It's
is.
like there's so much diversity in the world and it needs to be like that. Like look at nature. Not every tree is the same, It's like there's so much diversity and we have to have that. That's how this whole universe was orchestrated. It's like we got to have contrast. Contrast is also such a beautiful teacher. If we don't have pain, we don't know love,
Yeah. Okay, so 2 more questions.
Mm-hmm.
One, since your talk was on aliveness, and aliveness was what I was energetically a match for, what are the things that you do lately that help you feel the most alive?
Feeling. Like in all of my research and all of my discoveries around aliveness, the greatest thing that we could do to activate our aliveness is literally feel. And that means feeling the rawness, the pain of being human and letting our heart break wide open and feel like we're going to die. That's one version of it. And then it's feeling the most beautiful, joyful moments in life. So I got married 2 months ago now, and we had like this 4-day extravaganza. It was just like the most ridiculous thing ever. But everyone said, it's going to fly by so quickly. And I said, okay, I hear that. But I want to feel everything. And so I would just, throughout the day, multiple times a day, I would just pause and I would breathe. And I would just like let my cells soak in the energy of the present moment. I would look at all the people that I love and the environments, and I would feel what I was wearing. And I just soaked it in and let my cells really feel it on such a deep level. And really, aliveness comes down to a deep level of presence. We miss the point if we're not present. We go through life, we skip the steps, we're not fully in. How can I be fully in everything? Even the hard things, like how can I let the hard things just break me open so I feel them fully and not get lost in them? And I think this is a big difference. It's not getting lost and creating stories and making myself a victim. That's not it. That's not what I'm saying. It's holding myself in love and letting myself feel the realness of the moment and never hiding from it, because life is way too short for us to hide from aliveness, because it's the greatest gift that we have, And so it's really about feeling it. And when you think that you felt it all the way, open up your heart and feel it more.
Yes, dude. And that presence piece is just something that has unlocked something really big for me this year of like being present for what is non-judgmentally. And the more that I was open to the sticky and crunchy, the more joy, like passion, pleasure I was able to feel. Like whether it's just like, I remember in the summer, I would sit in my like egg swing in the backyard and do like morning meditation and breath work, and there was like the sun and the sprinklers and the people, and I was just like all my senses were turned on, and it was like this moment is literally perfection. But I don't think I would have ever felt how profound that one moment was if I wouldn't have learned to be present for all that is.
So good. And every single moment can have that texture and that quality, no matter what, But he basically like says every single moment can be heaven on earth. It doesn't matter. I had to go to the DMV the other day. And the DMV, as we know, is like the armpit of the universe. But I was like, what if the DMV was heaven on earth?
Dude, I always get the happy person at the DMV because I go in with that attitude. I'm like, I am going to have a great time. And then all of a sudden I'll get like the one rare gem that's got a sense of humor. And I'm like, see, it's what we make of it.
It's what we make of it, baby. That's it, And my experience at the DMV that day was amazing. They spelt my name wrong on my license and I got to go back and change it. But other than that,
that's a little annoying. That's definitely annoying.
It was like Skely. Not quite. Okay. But yeah, it was so funny. Like we were leaving, Eric and I were flying back from somewhere the other day. Where were we? Oh, Mexico for a wedding. And we're flying back. And I said, Eric, expect all the miracles on our travel day back. Like, we're going to get all the miracles. And we literally did. Like, we got upgraded. We got this. We got that. I was like, see, all the miracles. And then like we were waiting for our luggage. I was like, our bag's going to be number 11. Sure enough, our bag was number 11.
No way.
Yeah, it was so funny.
Well, and why 11? Just randomly?
That
Was the number?
I just randomly picked it. I was like, I want my bag to be one of the first ones. I don't want to be standing here all day. I'm like, 11. Boom. It was 11. I'm like, shut up.
Oh, I love that.
I
feel like that's like a huge thing is when you realize that you are a powerful co-creator. Like, the world isn't just happening to us. We're actively always co-creating and participating. And like, when you expect miracles, you will resonate with miracles. And this isn't just some woo-woo shit. Like, I have put this to the test. It's like the other day, my husband was so, bless his heart, he was so grumpy, dude, because he works in retail and it's Christmas time. So he's working till like, and he was closing, he's working till like 1 a.m. And, you know, we're old, we need our fucking sleep. So he woke up and he was like such a grouch. And I was like, oh no. Cause when you're, you know, when you're in a funk and just one bad thing and then the next bad thing and then the next bad thing and then the next bad thing.
Yep.
And he like spilled his coffee and it was like this whole low-key trauma for himself and the whole family. And I'm like,
no,
dude, it really was. It like made a really loud sound. I came running out of my office. But it's also like when you, and this is why I think breathwork is such a powerful tool, because someone who struggles with mental health, I can wake up in a funk, really groggy, and then I come in and I do my morning meditation, I do my morning ritual, I do my breath work, and I tune my instrument. And then it's like, how good does it get? And you teach us, the better it gets, the better it gets. And it's like, by taking care of myself in the morning and tuning my instrument, then it's like this door opens, this happens, 100%. This, I manifest. But if 100%. I'm grumpy, then all of a sudden I'm coming across the asshole in the Starbucks line and the person who cuts me off and I spill my coffee. And I always know like the universe is marrying me. So if I come across problem, I know now, and it sucks to face it, but it's also really empowering. It's like, it's me. That's just what I'm omitting into the ethers. 100%. And that's why I'm getting it mirrored back. So instead 100%. Of trying to control all of these people outside of myself, I just need to pause and get right with myself so I can start to illuminate the blessings on blessings on blessings that are here and available for me now and in every moment. We are opening up the Life Mastermind. And this is a container that I've been in now with you for a year. It has absolutely leveled me up in every way imaginable. It's so healing to have a group of women who are soul-led, heart-led, entrepreneurs and even corporate leaders just like doing the damn thing and to be led by you and to really focus on energy first. But what can you tell us about the Life Mastermind and then also the breathwork facilitation program? And then we will let you off the hook, my love.
I could be here all day hanging out with you. This is so
I
fun.
know.
We really have hung out all day. It's been quite a treat. So when that drop-in came to me in 2017 to create Pause, I like made a commitment with the universe. I was like, I will do this mission, but I'm going to do it in my way. I am going to prioritize my energy over strategy. I want to center my nervous system. I want to feel creative and I want to feel fun and I want to feel abundance. And that's the only way I'm going to do it. I want to have fun. And I don't want there to be business and soul. I want business and soul to coexist in the same freaking home, the same room. I want them to be in bed with each other. I don't want my soul to be separate from my business. I don't want to run business like a man. I don't want to prioritize metrics and arbitrary goals from my ego. I want it to feel alive. So I looked around the universe and I was like, what's a female leader who has a brand that I admire that is doing business in a truly feminine way? And I couldn't find one, Brooke. I couldn't.
Wow.
I couldn't. And so I was like, okay, well, what I know to be true about creation is if it doesn't exist yet, then we get to create it because everything in life is created once in the mind and then in reality. It's all created twice. So I was like, I am going to be the type of leader that has a successful multi-7-figure profitable business, but is doing it in my own way. And I'm just not going to entertain anything other than that. And I started doing that. And that's Pause just started exploding and growing and growing and growing. I'm like, oh, I don't have to do this in the old way. I don't have to do this from a place of, just hustle. And so after Pause had a lot of success and we were the top breathwork company worldwide, I then created the Life Mastermind because my vision then was like, let's do this for women all around the world. Let's give women permission to follow their intelligence that lives in their body and to just be these vessels of the divine to come through and create these amazing missions in the world that not only serve people and truly change the world, but serve the leader, serve us, right? And so that was the birth of the mastermind. And it just feels like such an honor to play with you guys and do life with you. And it's just been so fun. So fun.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. So guys, we're going to link everything. When does the next cohort kick off?
January 8th, baby. And someone just re-signed today. So we have 9 spots left for 2025. So if you're feeling it, talk to Brooke.
Come play, you guys. Yeah. And you are just so generous with the masterminds. It's like we have the breathwork calls and we have like all these extra things, and then the retreat, the freaking retreat. Are we doing Costa Rica for sure?
TBD. We're trying to figure out a place where we can host a group of our size in Costa Rica. It's harder than I thought, but we're making it. It's gonna be sick. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so fun. So Sam, thank you for just being you. And for being in my world and for leaving the footprint that you're leaving and for inspiring women worldwide to heal through the power of their breath and to create businesses in this extraordinary way where it is lucrative, impactful, fun, and easy. Thank you for being such a phenomenal mentor and coach for me and soul sister. I just literally feel like my life is more rich having you in it. So thank you.
I love you
for taking the time to come share some of your magic with my community.
You're so welcome. And I forgot to mention, pausebreathwork.com/mastermind. Let us know you heard us on here. We're going to give you $2,000 off. So let us know that you came from Brooke's podcast.
Yeah. All right, Queen. Well, thank you. And to the listener, I'm sending you so much love today and always. Take care of yourselves and therefore each other. And I'll see you all same time, same place next week.
Bye
for now. Hey, mama, if you made it to the end of this episode, I just want to virtually high five you because you've said yes to the opportunity of taking better care of yourself. And that is so meaningful and so amazing. You have no idea the ripple of goodness that's to come. If you've been enjoying the show, if you've been finding it helpful, if you've laughed a little or learned a new technique, will you do me a favor? Will you make sure that you're following the show, that you've given us a 5-star rating and left a review? That will absolutely help us get this podcast into more heads and hearts of as many mamas as possible. Because when we heal the mother, we heal the world. Also, if there's a specific episode that you've loved, will you make sure to share it with a friend? Just send them the link or share it on social media and make sure you tag me at Brooke Jean unPerfected because I absolutely love seeing that this is actually giving you the impact that you so desire and deserve. Thank you so much, mamas. Make sure you're taking care of yourselves and therefore each other.